There we are.
Let's see. This
is physically one with two ends.
Did you finish the parak?
Yes,
Okay.
but when we get up to the next page, a little bit of the Gemara on the next page. I'm sorry, I couldn't go any further. I prepared all of last.
So you turn the page?
What?
You turn the page on Lamed Ches?
Yes. Yeah.
So you're on Lamed Ches Amud Beis.
No. We did the Mishnah. Where's the Gemara?
Come on.
Yeah, wait, just a little bit in here.
Okay, I'll go back over the Mishnah. Okay. We'll start at the Mishnah on Lamed Ches. Oh, changed the new book. Okay. Thank Hashem that we're able to pray every day. It's supposed to be learning. We should have the bits of English. We should have the Dr. Stein for taking over. Okay.
Don't make it.
I'm sorry, where are you starting?
We'll start from the Mishnah again on Lamed Ches, the new parak. Lamed Ches Amud Aleph, 38a. The last parak we were discussing the mitzvahs that are ma'akiv one each other. So we continue with this same topic. It says the blue wall, it's not ma'akiv the white. That would mean at least simply red. We're going to see soon. Simply red would mean that you don't need to have the tchelas. To have though you can still be yaitz of the mitzvah of the lavan. But lavan ain't a makav as a tchelas. In the white, there's a makav the tchelas. If you have tchelas, that should be enough. And you're yaitz of the mitzvah of tchelas even without the mitzvah, without the white being there. Okay, we'll see. It's not so simple that's the pshat. But tefillah shel yad ain't a makav shel reish. Shel reish ain't a makav shel yad. Same thing when it comes to the tefillin. That the shel yad is its own mitzvah. And the shel reish is its own mitzvah. If you have the shel yad, you yaitz the shel yad, and you have the shel reish, you yaitz the shel reish. Each one is independent. Blame Masnitz and like Rebbe. Mar says it appears that our Mishnah doesn't fit with Rebbe, the Tanya, because we're starting a brisa. Brisa says the Tanya Re'isim you should see them. You should see it. Malamed shema'akvin zeh. This teaches us that they're ma'akiv one another. We're going to see exactly how we learn from that. But anyway, that's Divrei Rebbe. Rebbe holds that it is ma'akiv. Our Mishnah doesn't fit with Rebbe. Our Mishnah says that it's not ma'akiv. It means that each one is not essential for the validity of the other. And comes along, Rebbe says no. Says that each one is essential for the other one, for the mitzvah of the other one. Yeah, so according to what we're reading now, we wouldn't be out to the mitzvah. That's what it seems, according to Rebbe, right? The Chacham say it's not ma'akiv. So the Chachamim would be our Mishnah, and Rebbe would argue with our Mishnah. The Gemara asks, my time with the Rebbe, what's the reason for Rebbe that he says that each one is ma'akiv the other? The Ksiv, because the pasuk says ha-kanaf, says the corner, right? Kanaf is the corner, the edge. Min kanaf. It has to be the same as the edge. You know, just like usually a talus is white, because the wool would be white. Rashi says usually a talus would be made out of linen, and linen is usually white. All right.
So when I get my shoulder operation, I can just do this. The head.
The head, the tefillin. You mean if you're not going to put it on your arm, you can't move it. But let's say someone else puts it on.
Not for
then you would just, if that's the case, you would only put on the head. Yeah. You have to see if that's the case, but if that would be the case.
Man.
So we're in the middle of discussing the opinion of Rebbe. So far we learned that ha-kanaf means that you need to have white. And then it also says uksiv psil tchelas. It also says a thread of the tchelas. Amarachmana, and the Eibishter says, the Torah says, "Arisim I say, you should see it. Adikat havayu bechad." Until you have both of them together, because Arisim I say is a singular, and I know I need to have chelas and I need to have lavan, the blue and the white. So it means that you need to have them both together. See this? See the tchelas?
Wow, look at that.
Is this
There's
which
knots.
which tchelas is this? Is this from the expensive one?
She got it 30 years ago.
Okay. So one of the tchelas is starting to fade over here.
In the closet.
Wonder what that means if it's starting to fade. Do you notice this? How it's fading? See, it goes from blue to white.
Is that a white?
That is a sign that it's not authentic.
Do you think so? Maybe it's Kali Ilan. Maybe it's the it's the okay. So Hill is asking that you have the blue. There's only supposed to be one blue. Problem is that how do you have one blue? This is the way that you have 8 strings is because there's 4 strings that are folded in half. So are you suggesting maybe that you only dye half of one of the strings, and then when you fold it over, you'll only have one blue, or do you dye the full one, and then when it comes out that you have two out of it, right? Yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of it. I'm sure there's machlekes in and everything, of course. So okay. So Rebbe says adikat havaya b'chad. You have to have both of them together because it says Risa Mesai in a singular. That means that each one is ma'akev the other. And v'Rabbanan, what do the Rabbanan do? And it says Rabbanan is referring to the Chachamim. It says Risa Mesai kol chad l'chudei mashma. No, Risa Mesai means you see each one independently. Yeah, you should see it, which means that each one is going to be its own mitzvah. Exactly the opposite of Rebbe. There's two. They're both looking at the same word and they're seeing something entirely different. So the Gemara says, "Lemad like Rebbe." Let's say that our Mishnah doesn't fit with Rebbe because Rebbe says that it is ma'akiv. You're not yaitza. Even the other mitzvah, if you don't have both. Rabbi Yudam Rav. Rabbi says the name of Rav. Don't worry about it. It still could be Rebbe. I feel the name of Rebbe. You could say that our Mishnah is Rebbe. How do you say our Mishnah is Rebbe? Rebbe says it's ma'akiv. Our Mishnah says it's not ma'akiv. He explains, we're talking about is that our Mishnah that says that the chelas and the lava are not ma'akiv, really it is ma'akiv. Really it is ma'akiv, like Rebbe. What does our Mishnah mean? Our Mishnah means that the mitzvah is to put in the white one first, and then you add the tchelas as you're putting it through the. And if you put the tchelas in first, it's not ma'akiv. It's not ma'akiv, and you can still put the white one in. So in other words, in the kedin kedima of which one is supposed to go in first, don't worry about it. Let's imagine if I told you this with the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel reish, that you're supposed to put on the tefillin shel yad first, and then you put on. But don't worry, if you put on the shel reish first, it's not ma'akiv. You can still add. You can still do the shel yad. But what Rebbe's saying is that you need both. You need both. Just don't worry about the. But our Mishnah is saying don't worry about the order, but it still agrees with Rebbe that you need both. The Tanya, start in the brisa. Scratch the tefillin shel yad and tefillin shel reish. Part of that because that's not relevant to this. It's just the tchelas and the lavan. You're supposed to have the lavan first. You add it in if you did the tchelas first, it's okay. The Gemara is going to ask in a moment. So what does it mean? A lavan ain't a ma'akiv tchelas. We'll have to see. That doesn't seem to fit. We had two opinions. Why? 2 explanations. One was v'hayu. Another one was We had in the order of the pasuk. We had the order of the pasuk.
Or if you're doing physically a mitzvah, how can that not fulfill the obligation? That's what it says here, right?
So
What's the difference between an obligation and a mitzvah?
no. So 1 second. I don't want you to jump ahead, but on Shabbos you eat gefilte fish, right?
Right.
But you're supposed to have chrein with the gefilte fish. So if you didn't have the chrein, did you yaitz the mitzvah of gefilte fish? That's just my joke over here. But
Okay.
what we're talking about is in the mitzvah of tzitzis, there's two parts to the mitzvah. There's the blue part and there's the white part. We're discussing if you're yaitzer one, even though you didn't have the other. All right? Very clear if you take the lulav and esrog, but you're missing the esrog. You just have the lulav. No. You need all four, right? So over here you have a mitzvah that has two parts to it. So we're saying that according to Rebbe, that if you don't have both parts, you're not yaitzer, just like the lulav and esrog. You're not yaitzer. But the problem is, our Mishnah says that you are yaitzer. You're yaitzer the lulav part, not the esrog part. I'm mixing mishalim here. Example. So we said no. What the Mishnah means is that which one you take first. You put back to the tzitzis. You're supposed to put the white one in first. But if you didn't, but really you need to have both. If you didn't do it first, don't worry, you can add it later. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Mitzvah lahaktim lavan l'tchelas. There's a mitzvah to put in through the hole. Through the hole. You see, there's a hole. You're supposed to put in the white strings before the blue strings. So, and where do we know this from? They make them tchelas lavan yatza. But if you put in the tchelas first, you're still yaitza. Ela shechisa mitzvah. The only thing is you're lacking a mitzvah. So. It's no problem. The Gemara asks, "My chisa mitzvah. What does it mean? You're lacking a mitzvah." Ilay mechisa mitzvah de lavan doesn't mean that you're not yait to the mitzvah of the white strings. It's as if you didn't put it in at bichlal. And the only thing is for kim mitzvah tchelas, and you only mekayim the mitzvah of tchelas. It says l'Rebbe the kuvim makvad. That's impossible. When our Mishnah says el shechisa mitzvah. The Brisa says shechisa mitzvah. It can't mean that you're not getting the mitzvah of the white because you didn't put it in first. It can't mean that because Rebbe says that if you're not going to the mitzvah of the white, you're not mitzvah. So it doesn't mean. How is it possible to say that yatza el shechisa mitzvah? It can't mean that you're not yaitza. It has to be that you are yaitza. So the Gemara explains the Rebbe. So the Gemara explains Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav. Chiser mitzvah ba'asa mitzvah. My chiser mitzvah. It says you're lacking a mitzvah and you did a mitzvah. What are you lacking? Levin mitzvah min amucha. You didn't do it in the best possible way. Best possible way is to put in the white first. Okay, you missed that. So far, it seems like we've explained that the Mishnah could fit with Rabbi by saying. Mishnah says it's not ma'akev. It meant the order of putting it in isn't ma'akev. You didn't do it right, but it's not ma'akev. It's not essential. It's okay. You can still. This makes sense to say that the lavan doesn't affect the tchelas. In other words, if you put the tchelas in first, you still fulfill the mitzvah, right? And you do the white after. What does it mean? Tchelas eina ma'akeves as a lavan. Mai. What does it mean that the tchelas isn't ma'akev the lavan? You're supposed to put the lavan in first. What do you mean? If you put the tchelas in afterwards, it's not ma'akev? That's the way you're supposed to do it. Rami Bar Chama explains, very interesting, that which one is supposed to go in first. Remember, why did we say that you have to have, what did Rebbe say? He said hakanaf, and then it said psil tchelas. So hakanaf tells me that it has to be the same as that you have to have the white. Hakanaf tells you have to have the white part. Hakanaf, the corner. And since the talus is usually white, so then the strings also have to be min kanaf, the type as the corner, which means the same color. So, but let's say someone has a talus that's entirely blue. They have these talesim, usually like in a reform place or something like that. Very, very modern place. They come up. Show up with the blue talus. Like Kairach.
Wow. Makes sense.
And so that's a blue talus. So which one, according for him, is supposed to go in first? It's supposed to be the blue one that's supposed to be first. It's Tchelas. So it says, talus shetchula Tchelas. Over there, you would have to put the Tchelas in first. Let's say you didn't do that. Let's say you did the white. You put the white through the corner first. Then you're still going to be Yaitzer. It's Manami. We even have this as a statement. It says that the Tchelas is not Makiv Lulav, and explains Amar Le Levi Lishmuel. Levi, who's a student of Rebbe, right? Levi is a friend of Rav. Yeah, last of the Tanakh. And he says to Shmuel, Aryech. Aryech was a nickname for Shmuel. Aryech means king. And since Shmuel was the halachas k'Shmuel b'dinei, so they would call him king. Yeah. Yeah. Aryech, like Tesav Akarach. Why are you thinking that? No, typical. What we said before is that Hakanaf meant that it was supposed to be white, but that's because typically it's white, because a linen is typically white. But if it's not white, then you would have to, according to this, you'd have to put the blue one in first. So Levi says to Shmuel, Aryech, king, like Tesav Akarach, don't sit down on your feet. I guess they would sit like Indian style or sit on or something. Until you explain this to me. What does that mean that the tchelas is not makiv the lavan, and the lavan is not makiv the tchelas? So we explained lavan is not makiv the tchelas if you didn't put it in first, right? Still yaitz the mitzvah. Amalei, so Shmuel responds, "Nitzchel l'sadin b'tzitzis mitzvah lakdume lavan bereisha." What is it talking about? He says it's talking about a sadin. Sadin is a term for a linen garment, and over there, since it's linen, so that it's typical to use for linen to be white. So then you have to put the white one in first, which would mean that if it would be blue, then you mitzvah to be the blue. But the Gemara explains. It says, "My time." What's the reason? It says hakanaf min kanaf. It says the corner, which means that you have to have the same type as the corner, same color. The iaktim tchelas lalavan, but don't worry about it. If you did the tchelas first, which was out of order, less lanba, it's not a problem. Gemara says teinach lavan neina makav tchelas. I get what you're saying, that the lavan doesn't affect the tchelas if you didn't put it in right away and you put the tchelas in first. But tchelas neina makav lavan mayu. What would that mean? That the tchelas is makav the lavan. What does it mean? You put the lavan in and then you put the tchelas in. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Amalei Rami Bar Chama. So Rami Bar Chama explains. It's supposed to be Amalei. You take out the lay. You take out the lay because he didn't talk to Shmuel. He's several generations later. Yeah, he's a friend of Rava. He probably never saw Shmuel. The mitzvah lakdume tchelas bereisha. We're talking about a talis that's entirely blue. That over here the mitzvah would be to put the tchelas in first, because the hakanaf min kanaf, because you have to put in the type of the corner. Biaktim lavan bereisha, but if you put in the white first, less than bad, that's not a problem. So this is interesting because when I make tzitzis, I take all 4 strings, I make it even, and I put them through. I put them all through. Here he's saying that no, first you have to slide through the white ones, and then afterwards you slide through. Then you have to even it out, right? You have to even it out. Why can't you just put it? You take all 4, you put it in. Yeah, you hear the question. I guess it's like you need your own Shulchan Aruch when you're making tchelas. You have to do it differently. Okay. Gemara says, "I'm a Rava." Rava challenges this. He's going to have a new pshat in the Mishnah. Basically, the way that we just explained the Mishnah was that we're not even talking about if you're missing the tchelas or you're missing the lavan. We're only talking about if you didn't put it in the right order. But if you're missing it, you're not yaitze. That's what would come out according to the way we just explained the Mishnah. Amarava midi tzivaka garim. You think the color of the garment is going to affect the pasuk of which one you have to put in first? It says it would be you would follow the majority. Rayiv talises are white, and therefore you always have to put in the white first. The tchelis always comes after. That's Rava's claim. Ela Marava, rather Rava has his own pshat. What's the pshat in the Mishnah that says that the tchelis is not makiv l'lavan ela legardumim? Talking about where you made proper tzitzis. The only thing is that it started to like snap, and this gets. Sometimes they would tell us when we go to the zoo, the petting zoo, you should tuck your tzitzis in, because the sheep or the goats, one of them is going to eat the strings, going to nibble at the strings. Anyway, what happened over here is that this kid went to the petting zoo and he didn't tuck it in.
The kid was already in the petting zoo. The kid is a goat.
Oh, the kid. Okay. And he's left with little stubs, little gardumim, I mean stubs. So it says like this: the gardim tchelas v'koi lavan, gardim lavan v'koi tchelas. Listen, but don't worry. If it gets nibbled away, don't worry, it's still kosher. The Amri b'nei Reb Chia gardumi tchelas ksherim, gardumi esav ksherim, because the sons of Reb Chia, which is Yehuda and Chizkiah, they said that the stubs of tchelas are kosher, which means that stubs of here with tchelas would need tzitzis. Stubs of tzitzis are still kosher, and the stubs of the esav, which is the hyssop grass that was meant to be used to sprinkle, if after a while it starts to crack off and you're left with just the stubs, it's still kosher.
We're talking about where this part is being ripped, like typically.
Yeah. Not on the bottom. On the bottom, we're going to learn
what
it.
if over here one of these get ripped?
That's a problem. It's a much bigger problem. Yeah.
So what is the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe? What did they say about blue, using the blue strings? You know, what does Chabad do? What do they prefer?
I don't know the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe. In those days, they didn't rediscover it yet. It was more recently that it was discovered. And the Rebbe Rashab said that it wasn't for our Zman, our time. It's meant for the time of the Mashiach, or the time of the Beis Hamikdash. So it wasn't our avodah to go find the. The question is, what would be? We have it already. Did the Rebbe Rashab really mean that we're not supposed to, or did he just mean that it's not our avodah to? I'm not sure. So. Today they think they have it. They think they have it, but every time they think it's always.
Whoever's selling one says
this is guaranteed. This is the real one. When they, in science it works like that also. They always like saying like, now we mamish figured it out. Like it used to be, we didn't know.
30 years ago, I met someone in the airport. There was a whole scientific article. He ended up, and he had this trailers, and what was he was sure was, what was his proof? No, this was so cool. You know the way when you burn something, every different element will go with a different frequency. I forget what that's called. So in the article it showed when they burned his trailers, they burned it 613 frequency.
Oh.
And he said, hey, if that's not enough proof. I thought it was really cool.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Cool.
Don't put any money on it though.
I didn't buy them.
Okay.
No.
So, of course, you have to make mention of the Radziner. It was a Rebbe that was a chemist. He became a chemist to figure out the tchelas. And then the others, Rabbi Herzog, and the Yeshiva University, all the people that did the research.
Did he find one?
Each one said that they got it, and each one said that the other one was a mistake. The last one was a mistake.
But which one made the best chocolate egg?
It's got chocolate on the mind. You can get its chocolate.
Kamashir gadumim. How big? We said that if the stubs are still kosher, how big are the stubs? Amar bar Hamduri. Oh, into that issue, we had them before. Amar bar Hamduri, Amar Shmuel, Kedela anvam. The size that you could do aniva, which means to make a bow. Is that how they translate it? Make a loop, a slip knot. You here. A slip knot is you pull it. You're
First
able
knot.
to pull it through like this, right?
The
Slip knot
first
like
knot,
this.
right?
I'm sorry.
The first knot is a slip knot, and then it goes on with the
No,
rest.
no. There's no slip knots in the tzitzis. What it means is that
Oh.
if the tzitzis are cut down, like here, if they're cut down till here, I would still need it to be big enough that I can do a slip knot. Now, slip knot means that you have to bend it, to wrap it around, and you have to push one end through, right, to be able to make a slip knot. Yes.
And what's the purpose of the slip knot? It's not like you're
It's
tying
just
it
saying
to
that it's
onto a-
considered a string. When is it considered? Like, how big is a piece? How long is a piece of string? Well, if you can't make a slip knot, then it's not. It's just a nothing. But once it's a slip knot, it's a string. Yeah. So, Iboilo, the yeshiva has a question. Oh, you mentioned the size. Okay, so we're going to now ask a question. Gedela anvam ladvan kula ba'adadi doesn't mean that you can do aniva with all of them together. That's to make a slip knot with all. Dilma kol chad v'chad l'chudei. You see, to make this whole thing into a slip knot, because it's thick, I'm going to need more space to do the whole thing, right? But if to do a single one, it could be like half of that or even less. So, that leaves it as a question. Boy, Ravashi says, mandri. Let's say you got the expensive strings. When you go to a Judaica store to get strings for tzitzis, they give you options. They give you, do you want the fat strings? Do you want the thin strings?
Well, this has, I think, the fat strings.
This is a little fatter. Yeah, these are thinner. Those are also like medium, but if you've seen the fat strings, they're like hefty, you know. Huh? No, you don't. Yeah, you're fine.
You
Yeah.
have blue?
No, I don't have blue.
Yeah, last week you said that when you read from in Koran that when it says Teku about Mrs. Rabbanan, what did you say it meant?
I think we might have meant that you could be lenient, but let's see what the halacha is over here on this tekel. On Lamed Chesam and Beis. And go ahead, they quote the Rush. That one? The Rush says to be stringent. I guess it's a mitzvah deraisa. Let's take a look. Lamed Chesam and Beis.
You mean this whole discussion is out of mitzvah deraisa? How you tie them?
No, but if the tzitzis aren't kosher, that would be either you're yaitz or the deraisa, you're not. But so let's see.
If you look at the Shita Mikubetzes, he seems to say it is deraisa. First line.
Where is that?
In the Shita Mikubetzes. On Lamed Tes, first page.
Yes, yeah, we're going to come to. There's going to be a discussion over here, but that's regarding the knot. There's which knot, the top knot, the bottom knot. We'll see. One knot.
My point is, he's saying something about how to tie it as a deraisa.
Right.
Hmm.
So now the Gemara says, "Alimit lamanvi, thin manvi." Let's say if it was thick to the extent that you wouldn't be able. What was left because the strings were so thick. If you would try to make it into a slip knot, you wouldn't be able to bend it over, and to do that you would. But if that same length would have been a small string, it would have been easier to bend and be able to do it. So the fact that it's thicker, does that ruin the size of the tzitzis or not? So this is Rav Ashi's question. What's going to be the din? Amalei Ravacha Breid Rabbi Ramashi. Kolshkin the minka mitzvasayu. No. For sure you're going to be yaitzer because the fact that you made it thick, it's now even more recognizable that there's a string there. So it shouldn't lose out the fact that you're not able to do the slip knot. Mantana. Okay. Now the Gemara says Mantana the Palagala the Rebbe. We said right on the first page. We said that there's a machlekes Rebbe and the Chachamim if the chelas and the lavan are ma'akiv each other, if they're essential to fulfill the other mitzvah. So Rebbe said yes, and the Chacham say no. So we're asking now, who's the opinion that argues with the Chacham? You just said Chachamim. It says Hay Tanahu the Tanya. It's following the following brisa, the following Tana. It says Reb Yitzchak Aimer Mishum Reb Nasan, Sham Mishum Reb Yisei Glili, Sham Mishum Reb Yechon Menuri. Ein lei tchelas matel lavan. If you don't have the tchelas, then you put in 4 strings of white instead of 2 blue and 2 white. Right? You do 4 white. He doesn't say if you don't have white, you do blue, but he does say if you don't have blue, you do white. Amar Rava. Shema Mina. Rava goes back to what we were saying before about the stubs. Shema Mina. Tzarech likshar al kol chulya v'chulya. Every time you do a chulya is the winding around. You have to make knots on each one of them. Because if you would say that you don't have to make a knot for each one, you just have to make, you could leave it. So 1 second. If there's a stub there, then it's kosher, right? Even though it's cut. But given the Ishtri La'ilahi, Ishtri Kula. What happened is, if there's a stub, then it's going to fall right out. If there's no knot, if there's a knot, you can have a stub, and it will stay in place because the knot is holding it in place. But if it was just wrapped around and then you just have a stub, so if it's a long string, it's wrapped around, so then until it falls out, it would take time.
So
but if
you're
it's
saying
just
the
a stub left,
is in between 2 knots?
No.
So
Saying-
how could it fall out? It's at the end of the road. It's
No.
beyond
So
the
if
knot.
you didn't have to knot it at the end, you didn't knot it at the end, you just had the chulias wrapped around, and then there's a stub, so it would so easily just to fall right off. The chulia would fall right off the end.
But even
without
if
the
there
knot.
wasn't a stub, if there was no knot at the end,
It could unravel, but that's much bigger. That's much take more time than just to fall right out. So obviously you have to have the knot at the end,
double knot.
the double knot at the end. Because if you didn't have the knot at the end, then you're telling me the stubs are kosher. What do you mean? There's going to be nothing left in a moment. Yeah. It says, the Gemara says, Dilma de Ichtar. That's not a raya that you need to have the knot. If you had the knot, then it would be kosher. But it doesn't mean that's the knot is ma'akiv. Okay. The Rava also actually it says Rabban my Gemara, but it's corrected. Rava Shema Mina Kesher Elyon Deraisa. Now Kesher Elyon is a discussion here. If it means the first one or it means the last one. There's 2 opinions. Taisus quotes Kunshus Pir Shnei Perushim. Elyon, the top one, depends which way you hold it. If you hold it up, then it's the top one. If you hold it down, then it's the bottom one. Then the top one would be the one closest to the garment. Anyway, whatever the case is, Kesher Elyon Deraisa. That's part of the Torah law that there's a you have to have one knot, the top knot. These out the Rabbanon, because if it would enter your mind that it's the Rabbanon, my yitzchak lemishrei sadam mitzitzis. This is a very interesting proof. You have to see this. This is like a really interesting proof. We know that you're allowed to put shatnez and tzitzis, right? If the garment is linen, you're allowed to put on tchelas. And where do we know that from? We have a pasuk that tells me we have a limud and everything. So 1 second. Let's say you didn't have to knot it. So you put wool strings through a linen garment, and if you didn't knot it, then and you're still yaitz of the mitzvah. So then the laws of shatnez won't apply to a string that's put through but not knotted. Why do you have to come through with the limud that tells me that shatnez is your yaitz of shatnez and tzitzis? You don't have to worry about that because you just put it through your yaitz of the mitzvah by just wrapping it around without knotting it. And when it comes to laws of shatnez, there's no prohibition of just wrapped through without shat. It goes like this.
Well, then there's no shatnez.
And there's no shatnez.
So then you don't have this whole.
So why do I need to cut? Right, that's the kasha.
Or the us
So it must be that you need to knot it. It says the kesher has to be there. Pshita. Of course, it's going to be mutter. Hatoikif tkifa, because if someone just pushes through a string, achas, one string, tkifa achas, ein a chibar. It's not considered attached. You see, when you thread, when you sew, so just to push it through once is not a stitch. You have to go back in again to make a stitch. So, like in the laws of Shabbos, just to push, that's why you're allowed to use a safety pin on Shabbos, but you can't go in and out, right? You just push it through once. I think that's the rule with safety pins. So you can't go in and out. But you can push it through once because that's not considered stitching. So Elash Mamina deraisa. So it won't be considered shatnez if you just push it through. So it has to be they have to be making a knot. You're making a knot, now it's already attached, it becomes one garment. Now it's shatnez, now we have to permit it. What do you mean clips?
I don't know.
What do you mean clip? Where's the clip?
Instead of attached to this, they have strings with a little clip. It's like to clip it onto a garment.
No, you're making a mistake.
No.
That's impossible.
To hold it
It's impossible.
together, maybe, while it's.
Why? It may be what they're selling you is they sell you the tzitzis independently, and they sell you the garment separately, and the tzitzis are just clipped together so they don't become like a whole mush. And then you're supposed to make the tzitzis. Yeah, that's like you can go to the store and you can buy a cake, or you can buy flour and sugar, and you can. That's the ingredients.
Was weird.
No, it's no one's gonna. No.
That goes against the concept as opposed to us.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Right. We're gonna learn that. Amar Rabba Baravad, Amar Rabba Baravada, Amar Rabba Amar Rav.
Daf yesterday, so I have it.
Im nifsaka chutmi kara psula.
What did the Rebbe do? Because if we wear blue, it sounds to me like
he didn't wear
we're
blue.
saying that
He didn't wear blue.
Mashiach is here.
I don't know. He didn't wear blue. Yeah. So, if the string gets ripped from the base where it's attached to the talis, it's puzzle. This is said in the name of Rab. Yosef Rav Nachman v'Karmel Shmaita. Rav Nachman is sitting and saying over this teaching. Esvi Rav Rav Nachman. So Rav is a student of Rav Nachman. He asks him, "B'meh devarim amurim b'tchilasei?" That's only at the beginning. Aval b'seifai, but at the end, Shiara v'gaduma v'kolshu. We said that it's kosher even with a stub. My shiarav, my gaduma. That's not. It can't be a from stub. Not in a from stub.
Oh yeah. It's his father. That's
crazy.
Not real.
Yeah. He saw it in the story. He saw it online. Uh-huh. Hillel just showed us a picture of tzitzis that were made, and they're attached to like a little clip, like the key ring that you attach to your belt loop, little clip, and you take that clip and you attach it onto your tzitzis.
That would help a lot for when you do the laundry.
Yeah, it's I guess it's for laundry. I can't imagine, but you're not yetza with that. It's totally puzzle.
They clip it onto the pants. So, wrinkles.
Oh, it's a clip it to the pants. It's probably for kids that are frying out, and when they go to school they have to wear tzitzis. They don't want to wear tzitzis, so they just clip this thing on and then put
That's
it.
funny.
Can you clip from the corner?
Yeah, but you're not yetza. It's not. It's all a fake. They're showing me on the internet. They sell that. Okay, that and everything else, as seen on the internet.
Don't try that.
So the Gemara says, "My shiar of my gadumah." We gave two expressions of stubs. One is the remainder, and one is the stubs. Because what are these two expressions? My love, it must be shiar of the ifsek minayu, v'shtayru minayu. Shiar of means the remainder, means that there's something there, something left, and some fell off, and you have a remainder. So then what's gardumav? And gardumav, the gardumi gardume, and gardumav meant that it was cut all the way down to the bottom, to the base of the garment. And we see that it's kosher because we use two expressions. So Rav Nachman says that's not a proof. Chadaktani, you're proving it because you use two expressions. It's really all one. Chadaktani, shiure gardumav kasha. The remainder of the stubs is kosher, not this that there's a remainder in their stubs. And then it would tell me that the remainder is when there's a lot left, and the stubs is when it's all the way cut down to the base. No, it's only with the remainder of the stubs, which means that the tzitzis are still hanging. Lema gardumav. So why do you say shiarav lamali? Why do you have to say the remainder? Just say gardumav the stubs. Akamash malan. It's going to tell me to be in shiura gardumav because we need a measurement to the stubs. How much was that measurement? Kedela anbam. Okay. Yosef Rabba v'kamar mishmei Rav chut shel krach olam min aminyan. The chut shel krach, the krach can mean a city, but it could also mean a kairach, the one that wraps around. Kairach, the sandwich, the one that wraps around. That's part of the 8 strings. Amalei Rav Yosef. So Rav Yosef says to Rabba, Shmuel Amra. You see, what Rabba did was he said this in the name of Rav. So Rabbi Yosef turns to him and he says, that wasn't Rav, that was Shmuel. Shmuel v'loi Rav, not Rav. It's Manami, we also have a statement, Amar Rabba Varachana, Sachli Rabbi Yosef de Minusha, Chut Shel Krach, Olam in a Minyan. That the string, they call it the Shamish string, one that wraps around, Chut Shel Krach, that's counted. Yosef Rava. Yosef Rava. Gomer Mishmei de Shmuel. Rava was sitting and he said the name of Shmuel. Tcheles Shekarach Ruba is Ksheira. See, normally the way you make tzitzis is you have 1/3 is what's called the gedil, and then 2/3 are what's called the anaf. This is 2/3. This is even longer than 2/3. But basically, you know what phi? You know what phi is? Phi, the Greek term phi, not pi, phi. It's the measurement of beauty. Yeah, the way beauty is measured is by 2/3 and then 1/3. Look it up in it's a Greek. You look at the Parthenon and the things. There's always like 1/3 up here, and then even on the faces, there's like 1/3 from the eyes up, and then down. And the more precise it is, the more beautiful the person is. It's like a scientific measurement of beauty. But anyway, the way the tzitzis are is with that measurement is that 1/3 is supposed to be this, 2/3 this. Now, what happened in our Gemara is that he did majority of it is the gedil, is the wrapped up. So what's going on over here? Chela shekarach ruba. If you did 2/3 of the wrapping around of the gedil, it's still kosher. Amalei Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi said this in the name of Shmuel, and he says Rabbi Yosef says Rav Amra. It wasn't V'lei Shmuel. It wasn't Shmuel. It was Rav. The opposite. Last time he said it was Rav. Not last time he said it was Shmuel and not Rav. Now he says it's Rav and not Shmuel. Itmanami, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Sheshes, Amar Rav Yirmi Barab, Amar Rav Tchel Shkar Chrub, it's still kosher. Okay, still kosher. Rav Chibra Rav Nasa Masni Hachi. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Sheshes, Amar Rav Yirmi Barab, Amar Rav Tchel Shkar Chrub, Kshera, Tila Karchel Chol Yachas. If you did the majority, it's kosher. Even if you only did one chulya, it's kosher. One chulya is one wraparound. Actually, chulya is not one wraparound, but it's one set of wraps around. Ksheira v'noi tchelas, and then the beauty of tzitzis is shlish gedil shnei shlishi anaf.
By the way, right, it's called phi. They say, and it equals A divided by B, with A being the larger one, is 1.618, which
1.618.
so that's basically 2/3 and a third.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you divide the 2/3 one by the ratio of the whole to the larger part equals the ratio of the larger part to the smaller. It's a little bit more complicated now, but they call
It's a
it
third to a third.
well,
Two thirds.
they call it the golden rule.
Yeah.
And you're right, it shows it here with the Parthenon and other stuff. The problem was it didn't understand me when I said free, and it said what I said, is it free? And then he said, sorry, it's not free.
What was
So,
that word you used to describe a scientific measurement of beauty?
Phi, PHI.
EHI.
Yeah.
The golden ratio.
The golden ratio, yeah. Let me just finish this Gemara. Kamashir chulya. How many wraps is a chulya? Tanya, Rebbe Yomer was done in the Brisa. Rebbe says, 3 times around. 1, 2, 3. That's a chulya. Tana hapeiches liyifches misheva. The least amount should be 7 chulyas. Hamaisef liyosef al shalish esrei. But if you add, you shouldn't have more than 13 chulyas. Why should you not have less than 7 connected Sheva Rakim? You have to recognize that the tzitzis is supposed to remind you of the heaven. The heaven reminds you of the Kisei HaKavod and etc. It reminds you of Hashem. But the blue reminds you of the sky. And how many skies are there? There's 7 skies. So then you don't have more than 13. It's connected Sheva Rakim v'shisha avirim should be named, because 7 skies would have 6 atmospheres between each of the skies, each of the heavens. So 7 plus 6 is 13. So that's why you have. Now, I wanted to count it out, because on Chabad tzitzis, there's Chabad tzitzis. We make chulyas 3. Okay, so every 3 we do a separate set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Amazing. See, there's 2 things going on here. The bottom tzitzis is wrapped around 7 times. The next one is 8. Then it's 11, and then it's 13. 7, 8, 11, 13, right? However, the way Chabad tzitzis is made is that every set, so the bottom is 7, it has 2 sets of 3 plus 1. This next one starts off with 2 to complete the set of the first one, and it has another 2 there, another 2 there. Starts with 2, so that's 8, right? 2 plus 6. And every set of 3. But if you count up the amount of sets there are, there's 13 in the tzitzis. So it fits with our Gemara. There's supposed to be 13 chulyas. Yeah. And then, but in the bottom one, in the wraps around, maybe there's 2 taichin and what a chulya is. Anyway, whatever the case is, whatever you do, follow your custom. Let's leave it over here. We're up to Tana. Okay, have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Rabbi, is this the prohibition against wearing